Hello everybody and welcome to the video. This is a video answering all the questions you had about my van build, and there are some really good questions that I do realize I didn't explain. So I'm hoping that these answers will help you all if you're planning on building a van or just in the planning stage. So the first question that I got was about these drawers. So in my last video I was giving you my expenses on the van build, and I forgot to tell you that I brought these drawers over from the last van build, and they were originally from my office. So I've had these drawers for like 20 years. They were originally in my office and I just repurposed them into here. And yeah, so thank you whoever asked that question, but I did forget the drawers and they were staring at me in that video the whole time I was editing it. So that's where the brown drawers came from. All right, another question I got, which I may not have explained, was how do I secure the bed frame to the floor? So let me have a look. Let's have a look where I am first of all. This is where, oh, let me make sure that didn't fall out. The microphone just fell off. It's very tricky, this. Hang on, let me screw it back on. So, hang on, we'll say hi to Abby. Abby's in here. Say hello. So I'm actually at Minnunup Pool in Collie, and I've come here for lunch. I had to come in for a food shop and to vote, and I came here for lunch and to make some videos for you all. So yeah, it's a lovely spot. All right, let me see if I can show you how I have screwed the bed frame onto the floor. I have used angle brackets. Can you see there? Let me see if I can get that in a bit more for you. There. Angle brackets. So I have several of those just along this one side. Now on the other side, on the side facing the wall behind there, the bed frame actually rests on the wheel arch. So it sits right on the wheel arch, so it's not going anywhere. It's pretty heavy. So that is how I secured the bed frame to the floor. I think it's pretty solid. They're pretty good, just decent size angle brackets, and the screws are pretty decent size as well. All right, this question I got a lot, but can you hear the duck? You probably can't hear them, the ducks are quacking. This question I got a lot, and it's what do I look for in a van? Look, I want to give you a disclaimer. I'm the last person you want to get advice for on how to buy a van. I really don't know what I'm doing. I just make my best guess, my best educated guess. That's all you can do. That's really all you can do. You can overthink it, you can overanalyze it. The last van, I chose poorly. The guy I bought it off of definitely ripped me off. He knew the gearbox was going. Within 3 months I had to do a gearbox, and yeah, I made some bad choices on that with buying that van, but you live with them. You make a choice and you live with it and you do what you need to do. That's the only way you can live life. You could spend forever analyzing it, wondering, but just make a choice. My parameters though, I did have some parameters though. The first one was the kilometers. That was probably one of the biggest. I wanted under 150,000 kilometers. The first one when I bought it was at 240, but that was supposed to be a 6-month starter van. I had a much smaller budget for that one. So I wanted under 150,000 kilometers. I wanted it to be petrol, not diesel. And I wanted it to be a manual or standard if you're in North America. And I wanted it to be 2014 or newer. That was what I put into the car sales app when I searched. I used car sales for this one. I did look on Facebook, but there wasn't much. And first one I bought on Facebook Marketplace from a person. This one I bought from a very reputable Toyota dealership. And so I just felt that gave me more trust, more faith. I knew they had gone over it, serviced it. I knew that it was road safe. I knew that. So they guarantee your safety. They do a safety inspection. So I knew that. And what else? Yeah, I just trusted them. Well, I did tell them I had a YouTube channel, and if they were lying to me, I'd let people know. I actually said that. I started to use that a bit as clout. I'm like, I have a YouTube channel, so don't piss me off. So yeah, that's it. I looked for rust on the floor. So if they have mats or something, pull up On the first one I made that mistake. He had a carpet, I didn't pull it up and the floor was very rusty, which I had to, was just surface rust, but I had to prepare all of that to start with. So look for rust on the floor, look for rust marks around the windows, around the windscreen and things like that. Look for any sign of rust. Rust is a big one, I guess. Look for rust. I just checked basically that, I don't know, doors and that operated properly. It's going to rain. Now I know to check for the rubber seal. When I drove it, I was listening out for sounds. You know, is it making any weird noises? I do realize now with the first one, when I got into fifth gear, that it did make a funny noise, and that was the gearbox, which I didn't know, but now I do. I thought that was just the noise it made in that gear. Yeah, I'm not an expert. Maybe ask a mechanic. I'm not an expert. So yeah, that's all I can help you with, all right? I get a lot of questions about solar panels. So I have EcoFlows, I think they're bifacial 220 watt solar panels, and that is what I use. I'll put a link here, a photo here, so you can see what I've got. So that is what I use. I had questions about the size of my fridge. My fridge is Dometic, a 28 litre CFX. It's Waco / Dometic. They merged, I think. So yeah, so that's the fridge I've had, and it cost me $800 when I bought it new, and I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy with it. I know a lot of people prefer the door fridge. I like this one because it doubles as a table. It does double as a table, and I've always used it as a table. I use it to cook on and everything, so I'm very happy with my fridge. All right, another question I got: how long does your power last without recharging? I have made a video on this, and I will link that in the description below. Please go watch that video. I actually have a frequently asked questions playlist. I recommend you go and watch that. They're really short, couple of minute videos of all these frequently asked questions. One person commented that they heard that the foil board that I use squeaks under the floor. I've never had that problem. I had the foil board in the last van, but it can't actually move. So I have the foil board, and then it's actually taped down with insulation tape. And with this one, I've also put a layer of that Thinsulate on top and then screwed it down. That foil board's not moving at all. And I have the battens running across, so there's actually no movement even between the battens. And also I have quite thick, I've used 12mm ply, so there's no movement on that. So maybe if you're using thin plywood and your battens are too far apart, that might happen, but I've never had a problem with how I've built my van. I did the last two vans the same way. I had a question about how wide is my bed. That's a really interesting question because I'm thinking about changing it, but I have to wait for the four-legged buddy to pass away. So my bed is 75 centimeters wide, and somebody asked me how wide is my walkway. So my walkway from the bottom of the wheel arch box to the bed frame is 46 centimeters. Now, I believe that I could make this bed 10 centimeters smaller in width, and I would like to increase that walkway, but I can't do it while I still got the dog, because she sleeps on the bed with me, and she'll sleep like lengthways and I sleep lengthways, and she likes to spread out. We both won't fit. I think she'll be falling off the bed, so I'll keep it this way for now, but I do think when she passes I will get a smaller bed. I would rather have more space in the walkway. It is a regular single bed length. It's just the width that I cut down. People ask me about what kind of screws I use, and are they sunk screws? Yes, they are sunk. Can you see? Yeah, they are sunk screws. And I use, I'll try and put a picture up here, wood screws or metal screws depending on what I'm using. Some places I've used not sunk screws because I don't want them to sink. So if I want the head to stick out, like on the ceiling, I want the head to stick out. I don't want them to sink in. I actually want it to hold that wood up. So it does depend on the purpose, I think. If I'm going straight into the wall, then that's okay. But if I'm trying to hold something up, I actually want, it's kind of like putting a washer on it to hold it up. I had a question about how I attached the floor battens to the floor of the actual van. It is just liquid nails. You cannot put screws in, well you can, but it's only one piece of metal. So if you put screws in, that's going straight through, and then you're opening yourself up to rust and water coming in. So I just used liquid nails, copious amounts of my heavy duty liquid nails, and that's what it's made for. It is made for attaching wood to non-porous surfaces. And again, I used that in the last fan and I had no problem. Next question. Just so you know, we have 20 questions altogether for the fan. So my fan is powered by a 12-volt plug. I will show you here. I'll put pictures up. The plug runs along the ceiling, right all the way along and down. See here? And then it runs down. I've zip tied it to, that's my toilet paper roll. I've zip tied it to the cage and it comes out down here. Hang on, oh, where are we? Down here. So that I can plug it into the power station. So I only have one 12-volt plug on the power station, but I'm going to let you know I don't use the fan very often, and when I do use it I just unplug the fridge and I only use it for a few minutes, maybe if I've been driving and it's a bit hot back here to suck the air out, but apart from that I don't use it. I think you could get away with just a hatch. I don't think you need to have a fan. I think you need to have fans that blow on you and circulate the air around the van this way. That's what I prefer. I have 2 fans, one for Abby, usually one for me, but I have 2 fans and they circulate the air around, and I always keep the front window cracked and hot air rises, so the hot air is naturally going to go up. But that's how I actually end up paying extra, I think $200 for them to rig the plug for me. But I do use it occasionally, but I don't think you need it. That's my advice. Somebody asked me about how I'm finding the living in a bubble window covers. They are magnetic. They go up so easily. Once you get the hang of putting them up and down, it's really good, really easy. I have found them really good for the heat. Now, I will comment. One thing I've noticed is my previous van had quite heavy tinting on the side and back windows, and this one doesn't. So I think it gets a bit hotter, but I think the tinting probably has something to do with that. Which I'm thinking about doing, but they work really well. I'm very happy with them, very happy with them. Another question I had was about where did the cage come from? I refer to this as the cage, but it's a cargo barrier, I think. I always just call it the cage because it looks like a cage. Mine came with the van. It is factory fitted, and yeah, it's part of the technician's package from Toyota. So if you want to look it up, maybe go look up the Toyota technician package and they might be able to help you out with it. But mine came with it. I didn't have to fit it. So I do know it's properly fitted. The next one, this is a good question because I hardly ever talk about this, is what's my water setup? I do not have a sink or anything like that. My water sits here. I use a Dometic jug and the tap. This is just a touch button tap. And that's what I use. So that one is like 11 liters. And I also carry another 20-liter container full of water in the front seat, kind of underneath Abby. In the passenger seat, I have 20 liters in there. So I carry 30 liters. I do not have a sink. I have a collapsible bowl that I will use to wash myself with and stuff like that, brush my teeth. Oh, excuse me. And then I will empty that out. Usually if I need to use that, I'm in the bush or something on the ground. Or sometimes I'll empty into my pea jug. I will sometimes use my pea jug as grey water if I can't put onto the ground. I wash dishes with vinegar and water and paper towel. So that's my water setup, basically. It's simple. All right, my floor plan. This one might take a bit longer. So let's talk about the floor plan. I have ended up with the same floor plan as the last van, but I did try out different things. So in the first van, I tried multiple arrangements and came up with the one that I ended up with. And in this one, I actually will show you, I still have all of my paper sketches and everything that I did. I took measurements of everything. I measured all my furniture, everything that had to go in it, and tried to place it around. And nothing else made as good sense as this. So let me give you some of my thought processes. All right, because there's a lot of thought gone into this, as some of you may know I think a lot. So first of all, the bed is the biggest thing in here. And I like where the bed is because I can see out the window all the time. I like that. I can see out the window. I can see out the back window if I have no curtain, but I have a beautiful view all the time out my side door. And it does not fit on this side. If I put the bed on this side, it would stick out. It would stick out even if I pushed it all the way back, it would stick out over the door, which I don't want. I don't want that. And I wouldn't have the view either. The other thing I've done with the van is I prefer not to have cabinets and things high up. I find that makes it very cluttered. You start to feel claustrophobic and closed in. I do not have a big space. It looks bigger on the videos, I've been told. It's not that big a space. So I don't like to have cupboards and things high up. So what I've done is I've gone high in the corners. So I've gone high in that corner, I've gone high in that corner, and I've gone high in this corner. Can you see what I mean by that? So all the rest is nice and open, and I've just gone high in the corners. So I tried moving things around. The fridge also is another one that's quite challenging to find a place for it to go. I don't think my fridge can go anywhere but here. So yeah, that's why I've done what I've done. Hopefully that explains it. I did try other layouts and I couldn't make anything work. Yeah, that's what works for me. And you'll do what works for you. This works for me. Again, you might be different. I want to make art now. I've changed the cupboards and everything from the last one, but I do like to keep this open. It does feel not cluttered. It feels bigger. It feels bigger. All right, a lot of questions about my insurance, especially as some of you may have watched Christy from Eucalypt Designs, who I'm friends with now. Hi, Christy. Christy talked about how the trouble she had with her insurance and everything, registration with her van. And I do get this question a lot. My van is only registered as a van. I have nothing fixed. This is all removable. I don't have a sink, a toilet. I have nothing, no permanent gas bottles. I have nothing to make this a camper van. It would not register as a camper van. So it's just registered as a regular van. Another great question was about how's my insulation working? It's really good. It's better than last time. I did better. The biggest difference I made this time was I bought the proper house insulation, that silver stuff that I had, that roll. The first time I just used the windshield covers. You know, the ones you put in your windshield? I just used those. I think this is much better. It's a lot better. So the insulation is brilliant. I highly recommend, if you're in Australia for the heat, I highly recommend it. Yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. Again, when you're doing it, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work, and we did it when it was like so hot and we were dying, sweating, but it's worth it. Yeah, it's worked out really, really well. I'm really pleased with it, and we're pleased with putting in the extra cost. I think I forked out about an extra $170 for insulation, but I think it was worth it. Okay, I've just answered question 19. Oh, actually, the last question I realized. All right, I've done them back to front. Somebody wanted me to give you a view of the floor plan from the front and from the back. So here you go. Cue the music. Here's the floor plan. All right, final question. How did I attach the foil board? I didn't attach it very much. On the floor, it's just pushed in, and then the sides are taped up with insulation tape. On the ceiling, it's just pushed in. Because the ceiling is actually a curve, when you cut it, you push it up, it just stays. So the ceiling, it's not attached, it's just pushed in, and then the silver foil, and then up she goes. On the walls though, so on these top bits of the walls, I'm pretty sure we used liquid nails. I asked Faye if she can remember, and I said, I'm pretty sure in a few spots we used liquid nail. In sometimes you cut it so perfect and it's tight and it just sits in. So I wouldn't obsess about if it sits in on its own, just leave it because you're going to cover it up. It's not moving. But I think what I had to, I did use a bit of liquid nails. All right, that's all the questions you had about my van build. I hope I've answered them. There's one more I didn't talk about, and that's how I cook. So in case someone brings that up, because I never mentioned it, I'll show you here. I just pull out my my camping stove. It sits on top of the fridge, and I have the butane bottles, and that is how I cook. And it works fine for me. Don't have to worry about ventilation. I have the hatch now, so if I'm cooking, I always open the hatch. Fumes go that way. But I always have a door or something cracked open. Yeah, and I haven't died of carbon monoxide poisoning yet, and I've been doing this for 4.5 years, so I'm good. All right, that's all the questions, everybody. So let's move on from the van build. I've had enough of it. Have you had enough of it? Maybe you haven't because you're still working on it, but I want to move on from it now. I really have had enough, and let's get back into traveling and going and exploring some places. Let's go up the lighthouse. Oh, I can't wait to go up there, so hopefully we'll get up there soon and I'll take you with me. All right, everyone, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you very soon. Bye.